This is October 12th, I believe. I am in Spanish Fork Canyon area, and this is a place I've called the CK Wallow, but it's actually a number of wallows that are all situated in close proximity to each other. And this is a portion of it that I hadn't hiked to before, though it's not far. And you know, the thing is about this is there's so much here, which I would have to think would be the case with an animal like Bigfoot, huge animal, have to leave, in quotes, an enormous footprint. By footprint, I mean activity area. But I don't know how often these areas get visited. I'm not convinced it's even annually. And that may be a big reason why they're so cotton picking hard to find or see, is they're so incredibly mobile that they just get through these places once, maybe once every other year, once a year, a couple times a year, and only for a short period of time. Because to eat the kind of calories they need, they would have to eat an enormous amount of food every year. It's kind of interesting off there in the trees. If I see something, or if it's just my imagination. Anyway, there's several other structures here, so I'll take a few more pictures. And here's another batch of interesting lanes. The one starting off at the right and going up to the left has been cut, but it's also, the butt end is up in the air, right there. And the rest of these are interesting the way they're all laid up and, you know, crisscrossed. And this is just one of, I mean, there's dozens of these, but these I'm trying to take pictures of the ones that are most interesting to look at. Alright, and here's another massive tree lanes. Again, there are hundreds of trees I'm passing up, just showing you the most interesting formations. Okay, I'm up here almost to the top of this hill, and if you can see the number of lanes I'm seeing here, and they're literally 360 degrees. I heard some bird chattering off in the distance. It stopped now. They usually chatter when they see something they don't like. I don't hear them chatter at deer or elk, so it's usually something else. I heard them chattering. I saw a bighorn owl a couple times, scared it out of trees here, and they chattered when that flew out. So it could be something like that. It could be something different. I photographed this in another video, and I see this about 50% of the time when I come up to the tops of these hills. I see areas that suddenly have an enormous amount of tree branches and litter, usually laid pretty much the same direction in one area. Now, I believe it's places they either bed or they sit. And my thoughts behind that are that they're out here in the mud, the wet, the snow, and they don't like just laying in the mud, and they probably got enough fat on them that the uncomfortable nature of those sticks doesn't bother them like it would humans. That's just a guess as far as I can tell you, but it's the best guess I've got. This is an area that there's obviously been a lot of activity here. You know, extended period of time has been spent up here in this immediate area, so there would have to be some sort of bedding areas here, and this is my best bet. I don't know what to call these things other than knots, and I see these usually in about every one of these places we're calling wallows. one of these or more, just a big mass of trees every which way, and I photographed at least half a dozen of them, if not more. Is it something that was upright that fell over? You know, your guess is as good as mine. But obviously somebody moved these trees there. They didn't just happen. This is a lookout post that I videoed the first time I was up here. Notice the butt section of the log right at me, right there in the middle of the screen, or the one that's up in the air. And notice against the tree that's upright to the right, there is a stick leaning. Kind of flattened out area here on the bottom with some logs over these green boughs. So the old dead trees are over the green boughs, and this one with the butt section in the air is over the green boughs holding them down. I'll go to another angle. It looks pretty similar to before, but the one point that I'm seeing in structures tends to be these upright sticks that sometimes numerous are collected, sometimes a few. I'm guessing those are the things they use to tree knock with, and they don't carry them around with them, but they set them in areas where they can access them easily. Anyway, who knows? That's just me guessing. And here's the bottom side of the screen area. With this camera, it's really tough to adjust the light, so when I go from light to dark, some areas get overexposed and you can't see real well. But anyway, that's what it looks from this side. Does not look like anything's been in there for some time. Or when I was here last spring, it looked matted down. I had some air on the camera, so I decided to record this again. I've come through an area of about 300 yards with a few large trees leaned, but not very many. And then I come to this, there must be 30 trees leaned right in that little area. All aspens appear leaned against the bigger pines, and they're all up above here. This has got to be stuff they're feeding on. These are not territorial. These are all a couple inches, you know. The largest is about 4 inches in diameter of these leaning trees here. There are every one of these leaning trees that I've grabbed and shaken, and there have been 15 to 20 because there's so many leans up here. None of them have been rooted. Every one of them has been buried in the humus or whatever and just standing there. Now, I'm not exaggerating to say there must be 300, 400, who knows how many leaning trees, basically just like these ones right here, small in diameter in this section. We're adjacent to some aspens, and every one of the leaning trees, I saw a few down below that were pines, but these leaning trees all up here appear to be aspens that have been moved into the pines here. This is by far the largest batch of leans that I've seen. But due to the depth that they're buried, I would say this is, 3-4 years old, at least 2 years old on this stuff. I can't really say if anything I can see is really fresh. This appears to be more than just a feeding area right here, the little spot here. I'm guessing this was some sort of a lean-to and had more branches leaned up against it. Just kind of nature of the way it looks. Got a little X structure here to the right, and then you've got this little teepee right here in the middle. But it's old, so it looks like branches have fallen in and probably not used in a long time. Right near a road, but I'm near a road that's closed in the wintertime, closed 6 months of the year, so Probably doesn't bother them. They probably don't come around until after the road's closed. I don't think people watching this stuff are skeptical about this, if anybody's watching this stuff. But the sheer numbers of this stuff, of these lanes, and the fact that you find them in certain areas, and then you find very, very few for several hundred acres, and then you just find this hundreds of them in a small area. I tell you, at least to my mind, I don't have any doubts. I call this pinning, and this is a real good example of it right here. This pole that's laying on the ground is behind or underneath this upright right there, and it comes over the top of this one, which then goes up and holds up a third or fourth. It holds up two more right there that they're leaned against. Then coming back to this one that's on the ground, we come across, and it is under a log here and goes over there. So the fact that it's under there allows it to pin this upright one in place, and so it doesn't move and doesn't fall. And these structures, this is what they have. When I'm talking about pinning, this is the sort of thing that's going on. 3 or 4 contact points weaving in and out between the branches so that it creates stress and pressure on them so they don't fall. And just while I'm standing here, here's another small little teepee structure right in front of me. This is interesting here. This area has nothing but smaller lanes. Much smaller than any place I've been to before. I wonder, does this mean a smaller male Sasquatch has been in here? Someone just establishing a territory? Who knows? You know, or just feeding. But there are some larger trees. There could be some larger trees up. But so anyway, it's got me thinking here. This is the teepee structure, kind of announcing the area of the wallow I've just been walking through, and I figured out why the trees leaning up were all so small, because the adjacent aspen forest, these are larger, are all very small in diameter trees. Apparently there was a fire through here, you know, probably 10-15 years ago, and the big trees are all gone. Now there's more down here, but I'm a couple hundred yards from where all the small trees were. But the aspen groves near them were basically all these little 3 and 4 inch in diameter trees. Now that doesn't prove something to you. The other area I'm going through, you've got nothing but 6 and 8 inch in diameter, or 4 to 8 inch diameter aspens leaning up. In that area you've got nothing but 3 and 4 inch. And it's because it's the neighboring aspens, but they're not in the pines. Anyway, thought.